All right. Okay, everybody, we're here. We're back. The last time we met, we said some things. We made some proclamations, and 2026 is the year of so now what? I'm sitting here with Jessica J and Moni, but we're going to kick off this season with a focus on one of the claims and one of the proclamations that Moni made was demand gen has got to die. You're here to kill it. So I'm thinking, let's start there. Let's start with now what? Moni, you said it. Demand
Yeah.
gen has to die. We're going to kill it. It's alive. Talk to us about demand gen.
First of all, what do I mean by demand gen? That's a loaded term. There's a lot of different definitions out there. Red flag number one, in my opinion. But I'm talking about the process of creating content, putting out this content in order to gather leads, in order to qualify and score these leads, to send them to sales, to convert this over to pipeline revenue. People will say that's lead gen, that's not demand gen. I will push back and say that with demand gen, are you not trying to create pipeline revenue? How else do you do it? You create content and capture names. So cut the BS. This is, you can also throw ABM in this category. That also is the same sort of stuff. To me, that's one broad category of how B2B marketing operates. It collects names to qualify them, to send them to sales, to generate pipeline, because our main measurement is revenue and there is no other way. That process is antithetical to marketing. Those two things don't go together. I can tell you this because if anyone's listening to this who's doing it, when did you report on revenue? And when did someone believe you? Never. That's never worked. Okay, then. So how do we get, that's how we kind of got to this conclusion, because I've done this for 15 years with the same results, no results whatsoever to speak of. My proposal to this is essentially a different frame, right? It's using the same sort of tactics and mechanisms, but the perspective and the frame is different. So I am going to start with the buyer's journey. I'm going to keep awareness, interest, consideration, decision. And I'm, instead of like just haphazardly hoping people fall down this journey, I'm going to be very prescriptive about the tactics in each one of those stages. So the idea here is that you have a specific tactic for each stage that makes up an entire campaign. Campaign has a specific goal, therefore it tells a specific story, a consistent one, and one that helps you focus on the marketing and not the business case. So for example, a marketing goal would be to increase the number of free trials or something like that, or increase market share or brand awareness, things that marketing actually focuses on and does. An example of an awareness campaign could be a LinkedIn advertisement. The thing that is important here is that you have a tactic that is specific to the stage of the buyer's journey that leads to a specific next step that indicates that they're in the next stage. So in our example, we have a LinkedIn ad in the awareness stage that leads to, let's say, a landing page. That would be that tactic. We're measuring that activity for awareness. The next goal is to get people to, say, sign up for the newsletter. That would show some interest in the company. We have a goal metric for that. We can say that's impressions, time on page, something like that. And then we are deliberately, specifically trying to get them to sign up for the newsletter. What does this do as far as reporting goes? This isolates my metrics, right? I'm not looking haphazardly at dashboards to go figure out where leads came from and how to move them down the funnel. I have one goal. I have to get them from this step on the page to then get them to convert over to the newsletter. This gives me specific reporting and I can tell a specific story. If I don't reach my goal within this step, it could be 100 newsletter signups per 10,000 impressions or something like that. I then optimize my marketing to improve this particular marketing tactic. This allows me to focus on the marketing. Step 2 of this, we're not done yet, is to also, on that particular kind of form, or how you're collecting the names for this newsletter, you can also qualify or validate that this person has specific interests, right? What do they want to learn about? What is their specific problem that they're dealing with? This will help you inform not only your marketing, but also the next step to get them from interest to consideration. Right. I'll stop there. It's a lot.
No, no. I love it. So, but then I would assume that it follows and goes
Yes.
down.
Concept.
Same kind of concept. And so, so you've expressed this. It sounds like, oh, that sounds really familiar to me. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like, I already do that, Moni. What are marketers still doing wrong with this thing? Because you mentioned a couple different things, which is like you're hiding in the pipeline. I've generated demand or I've generated something. I'm hiding it in the pipeline. But now you're talking about how we think about what we're doing. What are people not getting it? Because it's like, oh, that sounds like somebody out there is like, I do that. How does this connect to demand gen?
The focus ends up being on revenue. So how do you translate revenue is with MQLs. How do you get MQLs? You need leads. So the focus is on those kind of 3 metrics, and it's not prescriptive. And what you do end up doing is making a lot of assumptions. So as soon as someone downloads your form or white paper, you assume that they're ready to go down this imaginary funnel of yours, right? You assume that, oh, if I send them a bunch of emails, that is the way to get them to continue to engage, to then become this mythical MQL. If they're an MQL in some way, then they're ready for sales. Those are all assumptions. Those are made up assumptions, not validated anywhere. Yes, Jake.
So hi, I'm wondering how does this, people are stuck in it. These assumptions, what you've said is the word assumptions. Is it that people aren't hitting the pause button during the AIDA framework themselves? One thing that I noticed is that you were telling me awareness. And then I was like, oh, I have to remember she's talking about the practitioner's perspective. This is us thinking as marketers, because I kept on thinking awareness. This person is aware now. This person is now interested. No, your thought of what awareness is been applied to this person. Do you see what I'm saying? So it seems a bit arbitrary still, like the MQL, you just applied that arbitrarily. How would I apply? It seems a bit arbitrary that I'm saying this person is aware. What you're asking is hit the pause button, question the assumptions, right?
Exactly. So the biggest miss of modern B2B marketing, in my opinion, is market research. They don't do it, right? It's nowhere there. What we do is we build these campaigns in a vacuum internally and then put them out to the world and then say, hey, end user, you tell me if you like this or not. That doesn't work because they don't like it and you don't listen, right? Like, no one downloads this. People who download it are not ready to buy your product or service. They don't like pop-ups. They don't like long forms. They don't like any of these mechanisms, yet you keep doing it because you have to feed the revenue beast and get these leads, right? So if you're going to keep these sort of kind of mechanisms in play, forms and pop-ups, why don't you use them to actually do market research and validate your assumptions? The reason why this then backs up, and I like this method, is because what CEOs are looking for is validation. And the only words they have for that is revenue. What they want to know is,
leads,
are we wasting money? Is this working? Are we sure about this? Customer information to validate what you're doing. You have that story you can tell already. And now we have leeway to do not only good marketing leads to results, which is revenue.
Moni, I have a question.
Yeah.
There was one time when I was working at a big company and we're like, why don't we just send the top 50 people an iPad? Like spend a good amount of money, because at the end of the day, we would probably end up spending $500, $600, $800 per lead in order to get them into the funnel. How do you feel about sort of making more of an impression, investing more in each individual? Because the buyers of these products might be 50 people across 50 companies, right?
For sure.
Exactly. We don't have to attract people through the traditional funnel. We could just do something that's sort of extraordinary, that's sort of out of the box, let's call it.
I like that kind of stuff more towards the bottom, like when there is at least some established relationship. So I want you to be in the consideration stage before I do something like that. What ends up happening is we're doing more assumptions, right? When you're in B2B marketing, there are a myriad number of reasons why people aren't buying from you. right? That could be like, I already have the freaking product already, right? We don't ask those questions. Hey, are you already using something right now? And the politics that are involved, especially in an enterprise level sale, the CEO knows the buddy of somebody, right? That happens all the time. Or like, hey, we're a Microsoft shop. I don't know what to do. Like, that's who we work with. That's it. We don't gather any of that information, right? And then we start making all these assumptions about why people are moving. I just got to send them 12 more emails, and then that's it.
Well, that's the other thing that Jake, you have something. You want to say it?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that people in corporations generally are not empowered to make these decisions. We're talking about big requests for proposals that are largely legal documents that are incredibly cumbersome. You bring in the procurement expert, you have the marketing person who plays a role, you have the IT people that play a role. And at the end of the day, it's a whole dilution of effectiveness because everyone's POV goes into the committee. So who is it that you need to make an impression upon when you're doing these campaigns?
Right. So excellent question. Thank you so much. Because what the issue is we have combined sales and marketing, which is the second reason why I hate revenue. Revenue is a business metric, not a departmental metric, right? Marketing is responsible for getting people to the club. That's our responsibility. We stopped doing that. We're very bad at that right now. So this approach helps you, kind of like you say, Jay, the things I can control, this helps it make it better. Right. So ultimately, what this is going to lead to is better understanding of the brand recognition, who we are, what we do, which helps sales when they get into the sale. If marketing is good, you should already know what the heck I do. You should already know what I'm about. You should already know, like, Coke versus Pepsi or Cisco versus Microsoft. You should already know who the heck we are and what we do. I just got to convince you I'm better than the next person. So marketing should take all of that off your plate. Now, if I'm good at marketing and focus on the marketing, it allows me to do that. And then sales can be my champion because when they go into the meeting or wherever, it's like, they already know me. I'm just telling them how I'm better than this guy, right? The weight comes off of everybody else because you're actually doing your job. So what I'm proposing is, like, based on what it is you can control and the mechanisms that are given to us, realistically, this is how you focus on the marketing and the consumer and make it better.
So I love that. I think there's something about demand. The word itself needs to sort of be super scrutinized because what do you mean? Because I think there's something of generative. Marketing generates not demand, but if you're doing it right in the way that you're saying, it would create an ease down the awareness and AIDA funnel as you see it as a practitioner. But now what I'm saying is I just saw something this morning and it was like, the dude's like, the reason why your sales messages aren't hitting is because it isn't relevant. It isn't relevant to the person. And I was like, oh, okay, what does that fucking mean? Because, okay, what you're just saying is, and what Jay just sort of outlined is, even if it was the most relevant ad or relevant message in the world, I still got to get 49 people to buy in, and I'll see you in 2 years max. And you have to start thinking, oh my gosh, like I think this might get you stuck by saying, I'm about to get real relevant for this part of the awareness, but you might end up missing pictures of a broader description of what demand actually is because you're in your funnel again.
So here's the thing. Here's why I stick with the funnel, because I know it's not linear, right? I understand that. However, what it does do for the business and for the marketer is give you structure, which we don't have right now. We have no structure. We throw a lot of stuff out there and hope somebody falls down this magical funnel, right? The buyer's journey gives me structure, which allows me to tell a consistent story. And that's what I need to do good marketing. So it's more of a frame for marketing and less of a mechanism to qualify and report on leads, if that makes sense.
Can I just say there's something that you brought up was memory. You have no memory if you don't start paying attention like this. So all the ads come out and all the leads come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? So what you're talking about is this process, but what you then have after 2 years of this is memory. And I don't think we give a shout out to memory enough because we're not remembering shit. I really like what you're saying is this is a way for you to access a place where you can create memories that you can then point everybody to and say, remember this?
Right.
Because if you don't do that.
And real
Actual stuff.
Number of leads don't tell me shit about shit. Right. But if I have like these people prefer this information or this is what their real pain point is, it gives me a starting point to then work on the marketing and feed that back to them, which is what we don't do right now. Imagine if the individual ISR or BDR, their job is to really take people from the interest stage or, you know, done something that's like high level interest and like personally reach out to them with like, hey, do you want to be in this exclusive event or whatever? Or would you be interested in taking our 30-minute call for an iPad or whatever?
I want to call bullshit. He's talking like a salesperson.
Yeah.
You're doing sales job right now.
Talk to me, because what I'm thinking is like there has to be a human connection in order to build relationships, because that's what these B2B sales are based off of.
There are two things that I'm getting out of this. Number one is Jake's speaking of memory or memorable. Like if I were to say, name a email marketing platform, what would you say?
Oh my God, Constant Contact was the first one I used.
So at the end of the day, you have a muscle memory about certain platforms and you have a bias towards those platforms. That's number one. So that's brand building. But then the other avenue you would need to go down is you need to, as a marketer, make sure you're on the Loomascape. You're big enough to be on the Loomascape. You also need to make sure that you're ranked in the right quadrant of the Gartner Magic Quadrant. And in order to get on the top of the, well, you don't have to, but I've had bosses at companies that
they
say,
believe that.
Where does it fall on the Gartner Magic Quadrant?
And it's not there.
Wouldn't it be better to spend money to make your product memorable by investing in brand and then do advocacy to make sure that you're on the right lists, whether it be Gartner or what's the other one that reviews all the products and
G2, Capterra.
Isn't that PR?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, I personally don't care if it's marketing or PR. If it helps to achieve the goal, I would see it as the same thing, because I've been in organizations where the marketing and the PR people fight, and it's like, what are we fighting about? We're just trying to get people to be aware.
Yes. No one has validation that anything that they're doing is working. That's why they fight, right? This is like, let's do this thing. Just one point on to the question of is it sales or not? I hear what you're saying. That is a very valid point, but marketing over relies on digital touch points to then qualify people. And if you're only using digital touch points, you lose all context. I have to have a human come in here and validate that. Give me context around the things that they're saying digitally, right? I need that because it makes a difference, right? No one's going to tell you in a form that, you know, we're a Microsoft shop and like my CEO is best friends with such and such over here, right? I need that anecdotal data. What I would say to that is when we're having these consideration stage conversations with BDR, ISR, the idea is not to sell. The idea is to build relationship and gather contextual information so that when I do call them again, or there is an actual hand raised for a sale, they're way more likely to take my phone call or answer my email than they were before. That's the thing. Yes.
I love it. Jess, I want to make sure that you get a chance to mention or express something, because you've been caught in these funnels. You've been caught in these structures. You've been caught in people saying to you, like, get the demand up. Like, why aren't people, you know what I mean? Like, what's your initial thought to Moni's thought? If she approached you and says, hey, I got something that's going to help you, would you think after she described it, would you find this helpful?
In theory, yes. I think that there are a lot of assumptions being made in this conversation in terms of business size and where it's at in its own maturity, right? So we're talking about Cisco versus Microsoft when you're pitching a new product, or you're talking about 50 internal people that need to sign off on a switching decision. But I think that that's a certain type of company, certain size of company, and a certain provenance, whatever, that many people listening might have experience with and might not. When I think about talking about marketing in terms of, an ad online, that ad online and that message is not going to turn the head of somebody at one of these multi-billion-dollar companies. They already have a team doing that reverse research that Moni mentioned about kind of competitive landscape. They're having someone internally on their side do it backwards, right? So that little jingle or whatever isn't the thing that's gonna, even a webinar isn't gonna do it, right? It can help just because having your name out in the canon, is helpful, but it's not the thing. It's based on a lot bigger, it's a lot heavier steps. That's the first thing.
1,000,000%. And just to clarify, I'm talking to companies that sell into enterprise organizations, which can be small, medium, large. And I've seen startups and medium-sized businesses target the enterprise because they have big pockets, and that's where they think they can get the quickest amount of money. And they are delusional because those are relationship-based sales, not transactional sales.
That type of growth, when you're
Jess.
That type of growth is that type of leapfrog that will kill a company because it makes you expand your own company too quickly. You have to build processes internally to adapt to their intranets, their sign-offs. And so when you're spending overhead time doing that, and then they also want their enterprise rate that they're used to because they are that blue chip, that you put on your website, we serve them. At what cost? At the cost of actually ruining your internal business because you didn't take those kind of the right clients that you can actually handle to build yourself up. And so that's like you're eating yourself from within. It's like you're putting a parasite in your body.
I've seen it a million times, and I love that. Again, I'm so glad I checked in with Jess because what you said just connects with what I'm saying, which is one, watch out. What happens if the demand does get generated? Can you handle it? You're about to choke on these leads because you don't know how to chew your food. One. Two, what if the demand isn't there because no one wants your shit?
Yes. Again, the fire in the belly of this whole thing for me is market research. Nobody does it.
You should know that.
You sat in a boardroom and decided, hey, we need to get to $50 million. What's the quickest way? Enterprise. Who validated it?
Said, it's like, I got it. But this fantastic thought, and I think me and Moni connected over the weekend, which was that people need to start knowing that they're not special. There's nothing quite special about you. It isn't that demand gen isn't here, but who's going to tell these people that that baby is ugly? There is quite a limited market for this ugly baby. In the pitch process, regardless. I really like what's going on. Let's sit down. I'd love to have a chat with what you're doing. Sounds really exciting. We wouldn't get in business if we told them like, bro, this sounds whack. It's an add-on to an add-on to an add-on. What are you selling? What Jay just said, constant contact is the thing I think of email. Nah. If someone's selling an email wrap, doing an email wrap, doing the AI agent magic dance on a piece of cardboard, and they're like, oh, I'm a break dancer. And you're like, no, we're all going to go get broke. Like, people aren't selling. They're not it's not generating demand because no one actually
AI is a fad. The other thing that you have to think about is the environment we're in. There are eras where companies are investing in infrastructure, and we are not in an investment era.
Correct.
Like, just think, what company out there that is laying off all these people with AI and all this stuff is like saying, you know what? The morale is low, the budgets are down, less people are buying our stuff. So let's do a big infrastructure investment. Like, I don't know who's doing that right now.
Oh, none of it. Yes. And it's all internal. It's just board members getting together with executives and making decisions because they are forced to go make money. Nobody cares. It's just like, so it hurts the marketing. Marketing can't do marketing. I'm forced to go chase the wrong audience with the wrong message because no one validated this. You all just came up with it out of your ass in a boardroom, right? So it's like we have to, if any of this is going to change, I have to go and validate this with the audience. I need to ask them qualitative questions that I can feed back to the board and marketing.
Yes.
So let me land it there, because I think what you said was maybe the outline for the last question. I think we kind of explored demand gen, got a wonderful take on different sizes. I love that, Jess, like thinking about that, different promise levels, you know, Jay, like all of the different structures and the different way that you could perceive audience. But I think what you said was really get to understand the customers at a fundamental level. If someone was going to take the first step, they've heard this, they're a bit fired up, you know, now rather than run through a brick wall, what's the first thing you think they should do?
The reason why your reporting is such a hot mess is because you have not formed a hypothesis. I don't know how you do data science or data analysis without starting with the hypothesis first. That seems to be the core start of all sort of like scientific reasoning. No?
I've heard about it.
What are you trying to answer here? Let's start with the hypothesis, which is an assumption. I'm assuming that people want this piece of content. I'm assuming they have this problem. I'm assuming they want this outcome. And then we start to go backwards and validate that. You should be able to build a pretty solid campaign on that. What questions do you need to ask? Who are these people? Where are you going to go find them? Seems like a pretty good base for a campaign structure to me. So hypothesis, what are we trying to find out here?
Yeah, I was almost avoiding the camera in your eye because it was like, I've created so many dashboards that why?
What is this?
And I was like,
They don't believe
they're-
it. Nobody has in Excel you way to massage this data. What are we doing?
Shame on me. Shame on us. Jess, do you want to end it with a nice, tasty chair?
I think I want to get back to what we all talked about where I got last week, which was the outcome is not getting leads. It is providing service to a customer.
Sorry.
That is why your business exists.
Correct.
That is why commerce is happening, is that maybe it was a facade, but your CEO had a dream that this thing could be easier, that somebody could do this X, Y, whatever the fuck. And it's not about the sale. It's about the macro. Is your product providing service to people? And that's how it's going to grow. Marketers make sure that the people who need to know about it. And they can only do that, like Moni said, if they do the research to figure out who else is out there. Where are the gaps in the market? Why did this CEO make this? Because what were his pain points? Her pain points, okay? You're advocating for the customer rather than the product, because the customer leads us to building a company.
Can I just say that that's the way to end it, is that it's so easy to get lost in a funnel and lost navel gazing, but you have to be self-reflective enough to question your assumptions to do better, even though I think what you said was good, is like, that's the deal. Like, don't try and tell me, oh, I'm only going to work with a product that has great market research. I'm only going to work with a CEO who has I'm only going to, well, then good luck living under a bridge, cooking squirrel meat. You know, what you have to do is take the cards that you're given, and rather than tell this person that you're not special and all that stuff, it's like, you actually have to say, here's what we can do within our means. Here's where I think we can go. This is the role I'm about to play. And you know, I think it's kind of good. Like, don't start to get too outside of your britches, because you won't be able to find work.
Well, definitely.
You're lost in your lane because you won't know how to apply and make relationships.
What you're asking me to do is, I don't know if you guys seen Clueless, but it's like, you're forcing me to ruin my Aaliyah dress. Like, I don't want to I don't want to ruin this dress by marketing bullshit to the wrong people and getting a bunch of email signups that I've tricked people into getting, that are going to ultimately put me on their spam list.
Right.
What you're saying is, please try to let me do it right and figure out the right things to say to the right people. And then when we get a smaller lead list, it'll be something that's more sustainable. It'll be something that won't hurt us. It won't do the disservice by not allowing us to figure out who the right people are, because we're just getting whoever. We can figure that out, but it might be just the wrong fit.
Good night.
Those
Seems to me that that's the way to get to revenue is give people what they
give people what they
I'm
want.
getting attacked.
Mic
Oh my-
drop.
I'm getting you girls gave me a cardiac arrest. Holy shit. You just heard the case for quality over quantity. It's always been the case. And if you're out here wanting that quantity and just want numbers, you're going to get the wrong ones and you're going to ruin your dress. You're going to make a mess. But God bless that there's a person named Moni who, without stress, gave you a structure that you can sprinkle in demand gen. Your days are numbered, but only because you don't help us. So you got to go everything you have in a box to the left. And we'll keep going on and asking more deeper questions on behalf of the Mac. It's me, Jake Sanders, Jessica, Jay, Moni. We're going to come back. We're meeting on Friday. God bless.
So
drive home safe.